Several Palestinian civilians have been killed in the latest hours by Israeli occupying forces bombings on several areas of the Gaza Strip. Brazil's federal police filed formal charges against former President Jair Bolsonaro on 36 other collaborators for a coup attempt following his electoral defeat in 2022. And in Venezuela, the International World Anti-Fascist Youth Congress kicked off with the participation of 500 international guests. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Several global leaders ensured that they will comply with the arrest warrants issued by the International Criminal Court against Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant for crimes against humanity and war crimes against the Palestinian population. So far, many governments have reacted, noting they will respect and abide by the ICC's final judgment, such as South Africa, Spain, France, Canada, Ireland, Belgium, Italy, the Netherlands, Colombia, among other nations. The High Representatives of the Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Josep Borrell, supported the ICC's judgment as well. On Thursday, the first chamber of preliminary questions of the court pointed out that Netanyahu and Gallant are accountable for pursuing hunger as a war weapon in the Palestinian territories. The entity further asserted that the Israeli attacks and policies on Palestine violate international law and the fundamental rights of the population in the Gaza Strip. Several Palestinian civilians have been killed in the latest hours by Israeli occupying forces bombings on several areas of the Gaza Strip. A new Israeli airstrike on a house claimed 8 lives in the Shuhayja neighborhood, eastern Gaza. Meanwhile, the death toll rose to 3, including 2 children, after an attack on tents in the Al-Mawasi area in the center of Palestine. Another shelling on a dwelling killed 5 people in the Nuseirat refugee camp. So far, the Israeli offensive has caused 44,566 deaths and over 104,000 injured since the onset of the genocide in October 2023. Meanwhile, Israeli fighter jets have launched 4 new attacks on residential areas in Beirut, the capital of Lebanon. Local media reported that the attacks hit the Haret Reik and Al-Hadath neighborhoods in the southern suburbs of Beirut. The Israeli forces further firebombed the town of Nakura in the southern district of Cairo in the south of the country. Lebanese authorities on Friday raised to 47 the death toll and 22 wounded after strikes on Thursday in the Baalbek Helma region of eastern Lebanon. In this context, it is estimated that more than 1.2 million people have been forced to flee their homes as a result of the Israeli aggression. In southwest Iceland, a volcano revives after 8 centuries of dormancy, erupting for the 7th time since December, affecting the tourist area, the Blue Lagoon Resort. On the Reykjanes Peninsula, the volcano erupted without warning, causing a fissure 3 kilometers long, although this eruption can be considered to have been smaller than the previous eruption in August. This Thursday, the lava spread, affecting tourist areas and buildings, as well as the heating pipeline of the peninsula. At least 50 houses were evacuated together with the guests of the tourist center. Iceland is located on a volcanic hotspot in the North Atlantic, having an average of 1 eruption every 4 to 5 years.
Seismologist at the University of Iceland, and today
I'm a seismologist from the University of Iceland, and today we're here at Svartsengi, to retrieve a seismic station, which is now only 50 to 100 meters from the lava. The sensor has been here for 4 years, measuring earthquakes that have marked the magma intrusion that fed these eruptions. But now things have gotten too close, so it's time to save it from the lava.
Hundreds of Australians rallied on Friday against the use of fossil fuels in the country. Therefore, they cordoned off the world's largest coal port. At the port of Newcastle, protesters demanded the authorities to impose a 78% tax on fuel export profits to pay for the losses and climate damage led by this cause. Activists requested the government to call off new fuel projects and end all coal exports by 2030. Demonstrators have planned to stop the passage of loaded ships for 3 days by using Nobby Beach flotillas of kayaks, canoes, and surfboard. The president of Honduras, Xiomara Castro, announced that the government is working on rescue efforts due to Cyclone Sara and alerted for the floods caused by the new cold front affecting the country. The president said that since early hour, rescue and relocation work is being carried out in the flooded areas of the Department of Cortes and the Sula Valley due to Cyclone Sara, while she announced the construction of a bridge to benefit the inhabitants of the Flor de Cuba neighborhood in the San Pedro Sula. Castro affirmed that in addition, more shelters are being set up and equipped for those in need, making a call for maximum alert to the residents of Lloro, Atlántida, and Colón for the next 36 hours, since the saturation of the soils could generate new floods. Laos, 6 tourists, including a teenager, have died from alleged poisoning due to alcohol consumption. The relatives of the 19-year-old Australian teenager regretted her death right after she was admitted to a hospital in Bangkok, where she had been transferred from Laos. Meanwhile, local authorities confirmed on Thursday evening the death of a 28-year-old British tourist, as well as another Australian, 2 Danish, and a young U.S. citizen. Furthermore, local police officers reported that several suspects have been arrested in the case. And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Brazil's federal police filed formal charges against former President Jair Bolsonaro and 36 other collaborators for a coup attempt following his electoral defeat in 2022. Among the accused are prominent figures in Bolsonaro's government, including former Minister Braga Neto, former Minister of the Institutional Security Cabinet General Augusto Heleno, former Director of the Brazilian Intelligence Agency Alexandre Ramagen, and President of the Liberal Party Valdemar Costa Neto. The investigation reveals a coordinated plot to subvert the democratic order and prevent the inauguration of President-elect Luis Inácio Lula da Silva. The president of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, led the ceremony to commemorate the 8th anniversary of the signing of the peace agreement. During the commemoration in the Bolivar Square, the Colombian president stressed that in these 8 years, the agrarian reform has not been achieved, assuring that this is due to the lack of will on the sides involved. In this sense, President Petro detailed that 300,000 hectares have been allocated to the peasants out of the 3 million that were agreed upon. In addition, the Colombian head of state emphasized that it is necessary to change the norms so that the agreement can be fulfilled in order to achieve total peace in the country.
Proceso político
The political process did not allow with sufficient forcefulness the application the implementation of the peace process in reality. And that is why today there are issues that are far from being fulfilled. Despite the efforts of this government, agrarian reform is still far from being achieved. The overall data, using various regulatory mechanisms that have been in force for decades, they were made in order not to carry out an agrarian reform, but we use them to carry out an agrarian reform. We have a global figure of 300,000 hectares delivered to peasants out of the 3 million that were agreed upon. That is to say, with this government, it reached 10% compared to the previous government. The difference is from 300,000 to 4 or 5,000.
The Colombian president also assured that it is necessary to change the norms so that the peace agreement can be fulfilled in the country.
The FARC, in spite of all the criticism of the Colombian society, I have some, it is not the case. Someday we will write books if they let us. But the FARC in 2016 told the Colombians that it was time to stop the killing, that it was time to help each other. And there are some answers there in the Congress, not from the majority, and in the streets as well, that what they invite is to kill us again. I think that this government should deepen the thesis of the policy of love, which is for everyone. And to say, frankly, that here the only policy that allows us to survive as a nation and as humanity is to help each other. And in this case, to help each other is to change the rules so that the peace agreement can be quickly fulfilled. And by keeping our word, we can achieve total peace in Colombia.
The International Book Fair of Havana, considered the most significant event of the Cuban publishing movement, reaches its 33rd edition in 2025. On Thursday, the president of the Cuban Book Institute, Juan Rodriguez Cabrera, announced that the encounter is scheduled to take place from February 13 to 23rd, 2025, under the motto "A Whole Country in Books." He also declared that the fair will be dedicated to the historian Francisca Lopez Siveira National Prize for History 2008 and Social Sciences 2022, and to the poet, essayist, researcher and literary critic Virgilio Lopez Lemus. The guest of honor for the 2025 fair is South Africa, the third African nation to hold this status after Angola and Algeria. Until February 28, 2025, several works will embellish the Cuban capital during the 15th Havana Biennale, a cultural proposal that includes photographic exhibitions, sculptures, and audiovisual productions. With the arrival of the 15th Havana Biennale, the city once again becomes the epicenter of contemporary art. In these decades, the event has established itself as one of the most important in the international art scene. During these days, artists from all over the world converge in this initiative of the city's cultural contour from different modalities of creation, such as performance and workshops with the community, to exhibitions in galleries. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, that you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Venezuela, the International World Anti-Fascist Youth Congress kicked off with the participation of 500 international guests who will discuss key issues such as gender-based violence, workers' rights, climate change and youth organization to fight fascism. And in the framework of this international event, we make a contact with our correspondent Belén de los Santos, who is at this hour joined by Sam McGill, member of the Revolutionary Communist Group Great Britain. Hi Bel, what details can you both share with us at this first day of debates?
Hello, Ale. Exactly as you were saying, we are in Caracas for the opening of the World Congress Youth Anti-Fascism Congress. And this is happening, this opening today, and Venezuela has really become the epicenter of this struggle against fascism. And this is why over 500 international guests have come here to the South American country to meet. The Congress is opening at this moment, and they are set to gather around at 7 working tables to discuss main topics regarding the struggle against fascism, but really with one goal in mind, that is to conceive the struggle as an international struggle. So delegates, and particularly from the youth in this instance, are coming together to share their experiences, bring their struggles from their different territories and find common grounds, find common struggles that they're joining in and different alternatives also. And the great challenge here is that the youth are finding their own ways to carry out the struggle and face the challenges that the current world is posing before them. And to continue speaking on this, we are, as you mentioned just before, joined by Sam McGill. She is a member of the Revolutionary Communist Group from Great Britain. So first of all, welcome Sam. Thank you for joining us in teleSUR English. And I would like to start by asking you, you've come a very long way. And so why is that? Why come to this South American country to participate in this Congress that seeks to foster an international alternative in the fight against fascism?
Thank you for inviting us. First of all, I think it's important to understand that we're living through a crisis of imperialism, a crisis of war, a crisis that is forcing millions of people to migrate, and they're facing ever more racism wherever they go. You know, this is capitalism at its highest stage, imperialism, and it means crisis, it means poverty, it means death and destruction for billions around the globe. So we have to take action. We can see even in the so-called capitalist liberal democracies, where we may have democracy to vote for one party or another, there is very little alternative to the politics. And these same countries that have this liberal democracy, they are actively supporting and employing fascist techniques to attack the oppressed people around the world. I am from Great Britain, the oldest imperialist country on the planet. The same Great Britain that is supporting Zionism in Israel, that is supporting the genocide of Palestine, that actually played the key role in creating the Zionist occupier, settler, colonial state. Great Britain is sending weapons to Ukraine through NATO. Great Britain has stolen Venezuela's gold and keeps it in the Bank of England. And it is supporting the extraterritorial blockade of Cuba, and it's part of this economic warfare that we're seeing against any country around the world that is trying to chart its own path, to find its own sovereignty and take a stand against imperialism. So it's very important for me to be here as part of our delegation, to be part of this struggle. And why come to Venezuela? Venezuela for the last 25 years has been a beacon of resistance, a beacon of international solidarity. The Bolivarian Revolution is so crucial to the development of an internationalist world, an anti-fascist world. And it is so important that Venezuela has taken this step from the opening conference in September to the youth conference that we are now opening today, to the close of the conference in a few days' time, and the creation of this anti-fascist, anti-imperialist internationals. And we want to be part of this because for the last 25 years, Venezuela has been fighting to create socialism, It's been fighting to make alliance with socialist Cuba, the revolutionary movements in Bolivia and Nicaragua, so that it's created an anti-imperialist pole of resistance and socialist solidarity in America Latina. And for us, it is an honor to be here and to visit, the country that is really charting this path forward.
It's really a pleasure to have you here in the Global South, and we have ties of solidarity with all the working class around the world, specifically to carry on the struggle that you were just mentioning. And you were talking about all the different challenges that the current world poses. We are definitely on a new stage in terms of imperialistic and fascist domination. And as you were saying, this is one of the key mechanisms that different countries, and Venezuela has taken it upon itself to find alternatives, to really find a common way to face that challenge, to face that hope, as many countries in the Global South have been doing in the last years. So this Congress in particular is summoning the youth from all over the world. What do you think is their role, their participation in this key struggle? We are looking at youth from everywhere around the world coming together, sharing experiences, a lot vinculated to the media, their relationship with social networks. What do you think they are going to do? Because it's their fight and it's their challenge.
Yes. So the youth are on the streets. They have been on the streets for a year around the question of Palestine. You can look in any of the country, almost any country around the world, and you will see the youth on the streets with Palestine flags, with their kafirs, taking a stand against Zionism and the genocide that is happening. So we can see the power of the youth. Yesterday we were on the streets of Caracas. We were participating in the National Day of youth and students in Venezuela, and the streets were red. They were painted red with the t-shirts and the banners of the Venezuelan youth who are supporting the Bolivarian Revolution, who are fighting for socialism, who are really involved in pushing this revolutionary process forward, from the communes to the organizations of the students. And we can also see from the delegates that have come to this conference that there are people from youth organizations all over the world that are taking a lead. I have been especially excited to be able to meet some of the youth from the Alliance of the Sahel States in West Africa. We have to understand this as a new pole, an emerging pole of anti-imperialist struggle, that they are struggling against colonialism, that they are struggling against imperialism, and they have kicked out the French, they have kicked out the US. I hope they will continue to kick out Britain. And they are creating a new revolutionary pole. And I think what I have to do here is to try and learn from these struggles from people all over the world who are coming here and are sharing their struggles, sharing their experiences with us. And the second question that is so crucial, and it's so important that so many people around here, they're constantly uploading social media, they're taking photos, they're taking videos, they are using social media. We have seen, especially since the coup in Bolivia in 2019, where Elon Musk, the head of X, of Twitter, said, "We will coup who we want," that Twitter and the social media, they have really been used to push a political agenda. We saw it with the elections in Venezuela, where they were really pushing, they were pushing Machado, they were pushing the election of Trump, they were pushing for Brexit, and we have to try and take back some of this space. And I really think that the youth have a role to play in this, that they have the ability to, really show the reality of their struggles and try and fight the media war, because the media war is attacking our consciousness, it's attacking political consciousness around the world.
Excellent. So thank you, Sam, for participating. That was Sam McGill from Great Britain. And we know the clock is ticking. We will continue to bring you all the information from this World Youth Congress in the anti-fascist struggle that is Venezuela is leading. And we will continue to be here to learn from that youth from all over the world that gets together and continue to take on the streets in their fight against fascism for their world in the future. Back to you, Ale.
Thank you, Belle, for all the information, and thank you, Sam. We will contact you in some other moment. We were listening to our correspondent in Caracas, Belén de los Santos, in the framework of the International World Anti-Fascist Youth Congress, which will take place in the Venezuelan capital until November 23rd. And with this contact, we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. But TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.